There's a lot of contracts on Deribit that are signaling like a 300,000 Bitcoin price by the end of June. That's like the most popular call option, apparently. But this is very interesting to me because, realistically, I don't think Bitcoin is going to hit 300K. But if you go back in history here, guys, we're looking right now at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, and this is extremely interesting because you can see that you can make the argument that Bitcoin kind of has this massive kind of like double bottom pattern that's been forming for the last, like 8 years or so, basically across all of its previous cycle tops. Of course, right now we're getting a little bit of a rejection here on the weekly, and of course everyone's panicking, thinking it's the same as the 2021 double top. And I do think that Bitcoin's going to get above this level. Maybe it'll see another pullback in the next week or two, but by the end of the month, I actually think Bitcoin is going to be breaking out of this, and I do think that the catalyst for that could be some announcement out of BTC Prague, specifically related to the Czech National Bank, announcing that they've bought Bitcoin or have approved the proposal and that they're going to be doing it soon. But realistically, I would hope that they would have accumulated it when it fell, like in the spring. So hopefully that'll be the case, and you'll be hearing an announcement of an actual buy rather than an announcement of an announcement, if you know what I mean. But anyways, what makes this chart so interesting, guys, and if you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll know that this looks almost identical to silver during the 1970s. And you can see that whereas Bitcoin has a 4-year cycle, silver had a 6-year cycle back in the 1970s. And then at the very end here, basically in 1979, in September, it basically broke above this kind of like a long-term resistance trend line that had been set across these 3 cycles, and when it broke above, it just went parabolic and it didn't look back. And again, we're just on the weekly chart here, guys. So over the course of 4 to 5 months, the price of silver basically went up by like 4 to 5x, right? Which is pretty crazy. And again, I'm not saying that the same thing's going to happen for Bitcoin, but the dynamics are very similar, with a lot of the supply kind of being restricted. Of course, back then in the 80s, it was these 3 billionaire brothers that had bought like 1/3 of the supply. These days, we have like these publicly traded companies buying a whole bunch of Bitcoin. And if you actually do the math, then it also works out to around 1/3 of Bitcoin's kind of like circulating supply is held by these entities. And the last thing I'll mention that's really fascinating is that if you, at least according to my calculations, if you actually look at silver's market cap, like the peak that it hit in 1980 when it had this huge blow off top here, if you translate that to 2025 US dollars, then it hit a market cap, I believe, of roughly around 4 trillion, which is really fascinating, of course, because Bitcoin's market cap is currently around 2 trillion. So if we assume like a similar repeat here, then we could see Bitcoin rallying as high as 200K. And I personally think that it could get to like 210K or something like that. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, like this is one of the reasons why I think this month is going to be big. Again, we're here just on the weekly chart. Is this rally going to happen right away? No, I think that this will happen sometime in the second half of the month, assuming it does at all. But again, it's pretty crazy to see how Bitcoin is back up at this long-term resistance trend line. And if it gets above that, of course, it's a big if, but I think that it will. If it gets above that, then we're going to see just a massive parabolic move.